The annual Out and Equal Workplace Summit boasts a proud legacy of addresses from LGBT and business leaders. Joining the accomplished and inspired individuals from past summits are the 2010 keynote speakers. Here are some highlights from previous speakers who have shaped our history.
Out and Equal is a story of community, our community of allies, of sponsors, of presenters, of attendees, of individuals like yourselves, doing what you can do day in and day out to stand up on behalf of LGBT equality. And that's what gives me hope.
You have to tell your stories. You have to educate the public. You have to put the hands on them to let them know who you are. You have to be who you are all the time, all the time.
If you aren't willing to show yourself, how can you expect the world to recognize you, or your values, or your rights? So, I choose to be out. I choose to be recognized and counted and heard. I choose to be equal because I am.
Be great. Just be all you can be. And then people will look at you and say, wow, they're great. And not their adjective first, but they're great first. And I think if we're all great, then the adjectives just go away and melt away over time.
The price of pride in America is still way too high, but pride itself remains absolutely priceless.
As I was unjustly incarcerated during the Second World War, it is equally unjust to separate people who love each other with a legalistic barbed wire fence simply because of the gender of the person that they love.
Look around our country and you just might see a country divided. And I'm not just talking about the red and blue states. We might see other boundary lines that separate people by economics or ethnicity, gender or generation, race, religion, or orientation. Our society faces many different challenges of how to transform us and them into we.
Your creativity is tied to your inner diversity. See, creativity defies all the social categories that we have imposed on ourselves. Doesn't care what gender you are, doesn't care what race you are, doesn't care how old or young you are, doesn't care what ethnic group, what nation, what race you come from, doesn't care whether you're straight or gay, lesbian, transgendered. Every human being is creative. So creativity requires diversity.
It's amazing. It's amazing how much power you get back when you know who you are. It just changes everything. And that finally did happen for me when I was 51, and I was clear. And the truth and accepting the responsibility did eventually set me free.
We can look to the 60s. We can look to Martin Luther King Jr. That I've never heard a more eloquently spoken future history than the speech that has become known as his I Have a Dream speech. If you close your eyes and listen to those words, what you see is his future history. You can almost see, as you close your eyes, black children and white children playing in a park somewhere with parents talking to each other regardless of their color. And it shows you the power of a really detailed, vivid future history. If you have one, it creates this ability to change the world. It sweeps people along. It grabs people by the scruff of their neck and brings them with you, which I think is something immensely powerful.
As my father said on numerous occasions, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are tied together in a single garment of destiny, clothed in an inescapable network of mutuality. I cannot be what I ought to be until you are allowed to be what you ought to be.
It is absolutely paramount for us to think of ourselves as uncompromising individuals and to spread the joy of our identities with our friends, loved ones, co-workers, acquaintances, and strangers even. because that is the key to the moving of the mountain.
And I walked away with the life lesson that just sometimes when you open minds, you're also opening doors for yourself and for others.
Yes, we have high-profile, positive role models out there, like Ellen DeGeneres and the like. But it's people like you who can make the biggest difference. Because again, change happens one person at a time. And it's the connections that we make with people that matter.
Every forward action you take, no matter the magnitude, big or small, will reverberate in the lives of people that you may never even know and in ways that you may never understand.
But it's not necessarily always homophobia, I think, in work environments that is the big problem. It is a big problem, but it's not the only one. I think heterosexism is the big problem. It's the level of assumptions.
Go home and tell this to your boss. Even if you're not gay, use gay-friendly terms at work. Okay, here's an example. That was a fierce presentation, girl.
However, we must celebrate our differences. We must embrace our differences until difference doesn't make a difference in how we treat each other. That's the goal.
And get to the point where we're starting to create organizations and cultures that move beyond just tolerating diversity and tolerating equality in the workplace to ones that actually celebrate it and thrive in it. And once we get to that point, then we can truly start focusing on the only difference that truly makes a difference, and that's the content of one's character. And that, when we get to that point, then we know we're really winning and we're making true progress.
But listen, we cannot wait for a politician or a CEO, and we cannot wait for a broad-minded pastor to start changing this stuff. We have to step up to that leadership challenge, and we have to do it from the middle ground, which is where we stand. And if we do that, we will change corporate cultures, we will move political red lines, and we will compel this country to fulfill the promise it has made to us.
When you are committed to putting an end to one of the most debilitating, damaging prejudices in the history of humanity, and that's what we're doing, those of us who are fighting this, then you should expect almost always to be in battle. But the key is that we are battling further and further along the line.
We still need to summon the unity, the courage, and the persistence to see this through. We must secure the passage of a fully inclusive ENDA. And make no mistake, the vote to include our transgendered brothers and sisters will be hard and it will be close. But we must go together or not at all.
I learned that when we have the courage to be open and honest about who we are, people not only accept us, they respect us more. So let us march on. Let us finish the work that we have to do and let us march on.
Passion and authenticity are a powerful force in our lives.
If you want to live in a world where you can put your partner's photograph on your desk, then put your partner's photograph on your desk and you will live in such a world.
This would be the first revelation that I would have. Your inner voice never shuts up. It is talking to you all the time. It eventually demands that you listen to it. And when you do, you realize your inner voice always has all of the answers for you.
Now, at this stage, I can look back with an enormous amount of satisfaction at what has been accomplished. We all know that gay is good, but being gay still is not perfect. So let's all get out there and make being gay not only better, but perfect. We're almost there.
I promise to continue to fight for a world in which all people live free from violence and fear, regardless of who they are or whom they love.
How can I go back to my people if I don't do everything I can to make sure their lives, our lives, America is better? It's true. We may be working in the mud today, but that's so we can live underneath the rainbow tomorrow.
All those major milestones on the way to being a more perfect union have been fought with people like the people in this room who've put their lives on their line, who have been activists, dissidents, poets, who've been willing to challenge the status quo, challenge the conventional wisdom, and bring not just the community of lesbian, gay, and transgender people, but the entire American community closer to being a perfect union.
As Marian Wright Edelman said, if you don't like the way the world is, change it. In fact, you have an obligation to change it. And I know that this is what motivates you to take time out of your busy lives to be here this week, changing the world.
When you go back to work, it's really simple. Just be proud of who you are, be proud, be kind, and be yourself. And that's my little old speech. Thanks, everybody. This is where you clap wildly.